Hello everyone and welcome to big old episode 50 of Lesbian Talk's amazing spin-off Lesbian Talk, coming live from the Isle of Lesbos.
Exactly, I was about to correct you, then I saw what you were doing there. We're not thespian. Oh wait, yeah, we are a spin-off, that's true. I feel kind of bad because you have to explain that every few months. It's just a joke.
Yeah,
No.
well, it also fits that both of us are lesbians. At least last time we checked.
Yep.
We check semi-regularly, it's kind of necessary. Have you seen the Haganista pictures?
Yes, I have, actually. It's pretty brilliant.
I just thought this would be a good thing for us to talk about for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Because it'll eat up a couple of minutes.
Well, you know what? Going on tangents is your want. And that was the word from last week, as you recall.
You're so clever. Will you marry me?
Surely. I'm a grammar superstar baby. Or no, I'm a vocab superstar baby.
And grammar and everything.
Well, not as much grammar, but you know.
But Haganista is on DeviantArt, and you're going to love this, guys, if you haven't come across them. They do BDSM porn pictures of me.
I should probably have more of an opinion on this, but I'm like, oh well, you're fans, honey.
The most shocking thing about it is how skilled the guy is.
That's true. I did take a look, and I was like, oh dear, badly drawn wife porn. Oh, actually, there's talent behind this. Okay.
I am humbled that someone with such talent decided to draw me much more attractive than I am. But the really, really amazing thing is the face. It's one of the few pieces of fan art that really, really, really captures the horror of my face.
That's horrible.
No, it does.
It's like that.
It's like they studied it. It's like I was like, holy shit! This is like a portrait of me.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's not that hard to capture an image of your face. I mean, just pause a review when the angle's good, and I guess you could go from there.
Oh yeah, it's just that most people who do fan art aren't so interested in aesthetic realism when it comes to the face. I mean, the rest of it is entirely unrealistic because usually I wear more clothes than that.
On a pretty regular basis, you wear more clothes than that.
Yeah, but the face, the face is pretty accurate. At least from some angles. It's sort of like it's like a Photoshop job in that it's making me slightly more attractive, but it's definitely got the character of my face.
Honey, I approve of your face, and I approve of this message.
Did you see the Haganista picture that went up today, which is the Sunday?
No, I do not.
It's the Fight Club one.
Well, see, the thing is that I don't have a DeviantArt account, and then anytime it's something adult, it's like, oh, you must log in to remove the content filter. And there are so many times that I've been like, fine, fuck it, and made up a DeviantArt account just so I could see a picture, and then forgot what email I used, and just lost all the information. And it'll be 3 in the morning, and they're like, oh, look at this piece of fan art of some video game I like. Yo, content. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And so I make up my 17th DeviantArt account so I can view one. They really should turn that off. I mean, I know why it's there, but.
Well, the new one that came up, which is the Fight Club one, it's, they did a PG version of it.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Which I will link you to, so you can put this in the actual podcast. This one, it's wonderfully characterized. I actually sent them a message because my tits were quite odd.
What do you mean odd?
They were
oddly shaped or
oddly spaced.
Oh.
Although it's probably realistic because my tits are weird.
I've never conducted a survey, but next time I'll totally check for you.
And I'm sort of recreating the scene in Fight Club with shirtless with a cigarette like I'm Brad Pitt. And beside me, you got a bunch of reviewers who are all shirtless as well. Apparently, it's like, Review Club, your first night at Review Club, you must review. The weird thing was, you got me, Linkara.
It's a good thing you don't have your shirt off like Brad Jones. Uh-oh, spoilers for future Hagan.
This is true. But we got Linkara, Brad, and Rap Critic. But then you got two other guys who look like they might be Brad and Brad. So it looks like there's 3 Brads.
Huh.
But actually, I've been told by someone else that it's actually Kyle and the Nostalgia Critic. But, okay, live guys, you're going to hear her reaction to the picture?
Oh, Jesus. Let me take a look. Yeah, you can tell the one that's supposed to be Doug, and you can tell the one that's supposed to be Brad. he has a very upsetting look on his face. Kyle looks a lot more manlier than usual. because his beard's not like that though. It's kind of like a half goatee-ish kind of thing.
I think this image enough must be recreated in real life.
Like Lewis is like, yeah, I'm gonna say fuck, and Rap Critic's like, I'm not sure why I'm here. Where's my shirt? It's like the look that Darren had on his face during the Isle of Dr. Moreau review when they all came back from being Hagan possessed, and he was like, what? What's going on? And then Doug just like, yeah, in the back.
It's a really cool picture. Like,
Brad's
this is one of the few.
My chest is better than it is in real life.
This is one of the few images which is available to the general public on DeviantArt. The other ones available generally are this really funky redesign of the flag of Afghanistan. I love that. I think that you should use it. I would love to have that as a flag, as printed out. And there's a picture of Hagan as Jem. Yeah, I saw that. You should put that on Facebook. I saw the dirty one, too, of you and Lupa doing a quote-unquote crossover. It was a crossover, just not the usual type. Yeah, but it wasn't that so much that shocked me, or that I thought was amusing, with the look on Lupa's face, because she looked really, really happy about it. And I thought back to the God of Vampires crossover. Yeah, she wasn't that happy. I don't know, I thought the God of Vampires review went really well. Yeah, but she wasn't that happy to be filming it. In or out of character? Because out of character she seemed fine enough. I think Lupa is just happy quite a lot of the time. Yeah, that's true. Like, her natural default state is cheerful. So everyone, now you know what DeviantArt-based porn of me to go to see, and if you're listening to this Haganista, please make one involving Omega. Wait. No, because I'm fat. Oh, spoilers, if you've never seen me on film, I'm fat, by the way. FYI, BTW. I'm fat as well. Yeah, but I have been recreated. I have been recreated as not fat. That's true, so it might be good for my self-confidence. Plus, if the image is there and it's not, it has to be censored or whatever, then that could be a new image for Lesbian Talk. That's true. Although it'd be really funny because if it was like Omega porn, then she would be like all sorts of naked and pornish, but still have the mask on. Yeah. I was like Omega having sex with a giant lobster. That would never happen, actually. Never. Well, someone else could draw it. That's true, someone else could draw it. We're probably going to a bad place. Like, all of the artists listening to us are like, heh. Although, did you see what Creature did? Remember how last week I was like, I thought of a funny thing, so artists, go do that. Well, Creature did a really great, if you're watching the visual, I'll have it up right now. He did is that the Mormon Kunari? Yeah, it's a really great, excuse me, sir, do you have a moment to talk about the Kun? I love it. I tweeted it at David Geider, but I don't think he responds to it. Yeah, actually, he said on Twitter, you're asking me questions about Dragon Age, I don't respond, sorry. But I tweeted it at him, so hopefully he saw and smiled. It's not like I spent a half hour today on YouTube watching a 31-minute gameplay trailer that was from an exhibition at some kind of... It's got to be I think it's... What country is IKEA from? Is it Sweden? Sweden. Yeah, so I think it was at a Swedish gaming convention because it was something that had been done and sent to the convention, I guess, because they played it and some guy got it on his phone. At the end, there was when the next panels are going to be, but it had those little accents that you see at IKEA, so I was assuming it was a Swedish convention. But I'll link you to it later. But it looks amazing. I know it's a pre-alpha build. I'm fine with that. See, now we're not going to be known not so much for talking about Doctor Who as talking about Dragon Age. Well, enough of Dragon Age and Doctor Who. Let's talk about something else which is equally unimportant in the larger frame of things. However, as a lot of fans and a lot of detractors, let's talk about the Star Wars. I realized we actually haven't talked much about Star Wars, which is kind of funny. Because I'll let you know, I spent the ages of about 4 to 6 wanting to be a Transformer when I grew up, and from 6 to 10 I wanted to grow up to be a Jedi Knight. I was obsessed with Star Wars when I was a little tiny kid. Let me just tell you what. I'm glad you that's interesting. But anyway. Well, I was going back to something you had said. I'm glad you said that, we probably haven't talked about it much, because neither of us can remember talking about it, but given that we're both massive nerds, I'm sure we talked about it at some point, whether we remember it or not.
Yeah, like minorly touched upon it. Like, that's just like in Star Wars. ... Well, apparently, Carrie Fisher will be a part of whatever the next Star Wars movie is.
Star Wars Episode 7, the something of the something.
The things and stuff, that's what they should call it. Pay royalties.
Noun, the voweling.
No, that's White Wolf. Oh, I know I mentioned a few weeks ago that their Kickstarter was going live, and it actually is live now, the Mage 20th anniversary, and they basically hit funding within 45 minutes, and they've vastly exceeded all of their stretch goals so far. So check that out if you want a physical copy. I know I'm going to. So
I do not understand why White Wolf have to do Kickstarter and stuff if they have this many people who are willing to get the stuff immediately.
Because White Wolf is now owned by CCP.
Mm-hmm.
So they own technically all the rights, but CCP is busy making electronic content. So what they did is they let a small trade publisher called Onyx Path buy licensing fees from them. So Onyx Path is actually the company that's doing all the publishing and everything. And they're kind of like a self-funded gig.
Like our CCP, do they only do electronic stuff and they never touch the other stuff?
Yeah,
because
they do EVE Online.
Okay, because I was just thinking, my issue was, hey, this is a guaranteed money earner. Why don't we do this?
Well,
and
they are earning money. They're just not having to put any money into it. They're getting a license fee.
Okay, so they make less money, but they don't spend anything.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's print on demand, and that's how print on demand works. It's kind of like very organic relationship with the reader or the gamer or whoever you happen to be. And Jim, who's at our wedding, my friend Jim, friend with.
Oh, Jim. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, he's actually come on board as a writer for them.
Oh, yes, he mentioned that whenever we were hanging out at New Year.
Yeah. He's like full on now. Like he was just doing freelance stuff for them, but he's like a full on now. Because that happened in the past few weeks. So that's
cool. Good.
Yeah, so a friend of mine, Dave Hill, the guy that he married my friend from high school, and he does gaming stuff. He's written for them for a while. So I know a lot of people that freelance for them, so not to take away from Star Wars, but if you have time, definitely go give some money to get the new Mage. Just saying. Oh, Reality Deviant.
I talked about the technocracy in one of my episodes of Hagan, the Razorblade Smile.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's just the worst thing you can hear in an alley in the World of Darkness. Halt, Reality Deviant. Oh, shit.
I think I could hear something worse.
Like what?
Here, Cthulhu, Fatagan.
No.
Relay, Cthulhu, Fatagan.
No, because you'd have to have your SD's approval to bring that in.
Oh, okay.
You could do Cthulhu-like stuff, but that's its own copyright. Not its own copyright, but, et cetera, et cetera.
Anyway, Star Wars.
Alright, I'm done with that. Yeah, I was nuts for Star Wars. I had all, the Fisher-Price record books, where it was, when you hear R2-D2 make a sound, turn the page. I had all of those for my Fisher-Price record player.
Oh, did you just... last night I sort of read a thing. They did this poll of tech terms and things with people in America to see if people recognized them.
Uh-huh.
And 11% of Americans thought MP3 was the name of a robot in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, I saw this, and, some people thought, a gigabyte was, some country in Europe or something like that.
Some people thought software was the name for pleasant things to wear.
Yes, that's what it was.
So that was pretty logical.
But, some of this, I have to ask the age demographic of this study. Because with above a certain age, I can understand that. But if these are, modern kids, I don't know. So I wonder if they didn't deliberately mine an older demographic just for the lulz.
It's possible.
That's the first thing I always think now, whenever I read about a study says XYZ. I always think, yes, but what was your target demographic? And, because there's ways to twink pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think, though, the point of that sort of poll is to get as random as possible.
Yeah, well...
But if they were going for a certain demographic for the lulz, though, then that would be very amusing.
Yeah. This R2 unit's got a bad motivator. Well, you want this MP3? Yeah, sure. I'm sorry, you have to install iTunes first.
But which is your favorite Star Wars film?
Now that's pretty. None of the prequels, obviously, because they were shit. But I have to say the first one, A New Hope, because I mean we had that on VHS. We actually there was no commercials in it, so I think it was something that we acquired at some point because it was one of the ones that you made yourself. It wasn't the actual VHS release, so it must have been pirated from somewhere back in the day. But we've had it as long as I watched that until literally it was unwatchable due to tracking errors.
Oh,
that's how much I loved it.
My favorite is Empire.
Why?
As Randall said in Clerks, it is a series of down endings. You find out Darth Vader's father, Luke loses his hand, the rebels have been defeated at Hoth and sent away, his hand's been frozen in carbonite, Boba Fett was still badass at this point, Jeremy Bulloch was, played him, and it's like, all the heroes are defeated. I feel good.
Billy Williams.
Yes, before he'd started assaulting women. The guy who played the body of Boba Fett, he was the old man in charge of the conspiracy in Bone Kickers.
Really?
Well, yeah, I mentioned that in the review.
I know, but that was like a squillion years ago. I should really rewatch your Bone Kickers review. I always did enjoy them. He
was in one of the main characters in the John Pertwee Doctor Who story, The Time Warrior. So you see him with blonde hair, sort of shooting arrows and stuff in my quick guide to Let's Go. That's Jeremy Bulloch, who has made an entire career out of going to Star Wars related conventions.
Well, good for him,
Oh, very much, because Boba Fett, in the original trilogy, he was like the coolest guy in the entire trilogy.
He was hardcore.
Jeremy Bulloch didn't do the voice, he just played the acting stuff, and he didn't actually... They could have literally got almost anyone to play the part, and he was like, excellent, I don't need to work again in my life.
So, how do you feel about Disney's decision to axe the extended universe?
I care very little about the Star Wars extended universe.
See, I don't know. I mean, as a bookseller, we have about 1 billion little mass market it takes up 3 shelves inside at the end of Sci-Fi. And at the same time, some of them are good. I won't, especially the ones that Timothy Zahn did because he's really great. So some of them are really good, but then some of them are really stupid. So I don't know. I kind of feel bad for the writers who did a good job with it, but
I can totally understand big fans getting really upset about it. If someone came in and basically got rid of all of the dubious canonicity of all of the Big Finish Doctor Who's, I'd be really pissed off. They haven't announced yet what's staying and what's going. Mm-hmm. And I can see a lot of people being as annoyed as I am every single time New Who fucks up continuity.
You being annoyed by New Who? What are you even talking about?
Never happens.
But, yeah, I mean, I knew some people who, literally had every single one of the old, Star Wars novels, and I guess it is kind of obnoxious if you really liked a certain storyline or something to have it now, basically now it's fanfic. And you're like, oh, well, but it's published fanfic that someone got royalties for.
This is true, which is very nice of them.
Yeah. I mean, when the news first came out about it, about the Disney buyout, I was actually kind of pleased because... I'd really like to see where Disney can go with it, with that kind of financial and marketing powerhouse behind it, what can happen, because, the prequels really let me down, and I know that's not exactly a new or shocking opinion to have, but I remember being so amped up for this and thinking, wow, Star Wars, new stuff, not just the same old stuff from when I was a kid, and we went to go see Episode 1, and it was just...
It's,
Actually, the only time that I laughed in the entirety of that movie was at the end, how Jar Jar falls off his wampa, or not a wampa, whatever beasts that the thingies ride, his people. A friend of mine, Brendan, leaned over and said, "Do it again for Jar Jar," which was, a joke at the expense of a friend of ours, Jeff, once when he screwed up something during marching band, and our teacher took the podium and screamed, "Do it again for Jeff!" So Brendan said that do it again for Jar Jar. And I went, pfft. And our friend Kate, who was with us, because we were all band nerds, like, laughed and, like, went to slap her knee, or slap her thigh in hilarity, but she missed, and she accidentally creamed her boyfriend Mike in the balls. And he went, and that was the funniest part of episode 1. I mean, how did you feel when you heard that Disney bought the rights?
Honestly, I care more about Star Wars. I don't care much. Okay. Out of the big science fiction franchise, I give shit about Doctor Who's at the top, Star Trek is a close second, and Star Wars is like a distant third. I like the Star Wars movies, but I care less about Star Wars than I do about Star Trek or Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm. Heretic. You will never discover the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like your father was before you.
I don't want to discover the ways of the Force.
And actually, your dad's a retired doctor, so I guess it doesn't really work.
This is true. But do you know what I ordered yesterday?
What?
A Colin Baker Big Finish, which is about the genesis of the Sontarans.
How they became dickheads. Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, no. This is how they went from being a regular species who were sort of stuck in a war, and how they changed their species to becoming clone vat ones so they could fight back because they were losing the war. Oh. And they became crazy obsessed soldiers who constantly cloned millions of ones was just a way to make bring the war to bring it to a standstill.
Oh.
Which was better than being completely obliterated.
We're still talking about Doctor Who and Star Wars.
I'm sorry.
You were like, let's talk about Star Wars, and I was like, okay.
I really like Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, that was a really solid game. You know what? Not to talk about Doctor Who some more, but I think that would be a really great way to handle a Lego Doctor Who game. Because you could have, like, the hub, at the center where the canteen is, and then you could have one portal for each of the incarnations, and you could unlock companions and Cybermen and stuff like that. It would be really great.
Yeah. Lego Doctor Who would be perfect if done like that. Have one story, have one section based on a classic story with a Doctor and the companion, have them playable, and then unlock other companions.
Yeah, and actually, I know that they signed something because they're going to do Doctor Who figurines at some point, like Lego figurines. So
hopefully they'll do a proper Lego one. Although I really don't like the later Lego ones because they're having the characters speak, and I don't want the characters to talk.
Yeah, and like I was really excited for Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, and I got it. Actually, it was given to me for Christmas one year by my sister. She bought it used, and I could tell. And it was more like an adventure game. It was more like find the thing that does the thing to get the thing to put in this thing, and I'm like, no. Star Wars, I didn't have to do this shit, and also I had a lightsaber.
I played the Lego Marvel superheroes, and it's okay. It's just they're constantly talking to each other, and I'm like, you used to be really good at silent comedy. That's what I liked about Lego games.
The Lego Batman was pretty good because I lived with an engaged couple once, and they were a big fan of the Lego games, and I would watch them play that one a lot. Although they also had Lego Indiana Jones, which features a lot of vehicle sections, which they were both really bad at, and of course they would play tandem. So it's really hard to do a vehicle section anyway, but it's even harder to do it tandem. And then they would have fights because they would screw up. And then the guy would be like, that's it, I'm going to go play computer. And the girl's like, no, we haven't finished this level. Get Omega to play with you. And I'm like sprinting away at top speed. Sorry, I got stuff to do. Can't, bye.
I gotta save for Eldon again.
No, that hadn't come out yet.
I am looking forward to seeing Star Wars Episode 7, even though it is JJ Abrams.
Oh, come on.
No, the guy raped Star Trek twice. He's going to rape Star Wars even more.
He's not. Ooh, don't you start, because if you use the word rape, you better use it in context. We're going to have lots of angry comments.
They can lay angry comments. I have very, very low opinion of J.J. Abrams and his work on various franchises with the word star in the title. But I'm interested in seeing the final film. I will go to see it in the cinema, and then I will bitch about it in a car.
I know you will, dear. I know you will.
Although it will be nice to see Mark Hamill on the big screen again.
Yeah, that's true. Now, is he going to be old Luke, or what's going on, or we don't know, I guess?
He's
the Joker as a Sith.
See, that would be funny. But Carrie Fisher, she's openly saying that she's going to be there. Mark Hamill has said pretty much the same sort of thing, but Mark Hamill said from before the buying at Disney that he was planning to be in the next Star Wars film, which was going to get made in the next 5 years or so. This was back like 2009. Because he said that this was something that George Lucas had told him, that he was going to do a third trilogy, 30 years after the first one.
I'd be interested,
Oh, yeah.
See, the thing is, will Han be dead?
No. Harrison Ford has signed up, but
Okay,
Harrison
good.
Ford's, his condition was, you get me for more Star Wars movies, if only you let me do another 2 Indiana Jones.
Well played, Mr. Ford. Well played.
I'm guessing that Luke is probably going to get killed. This is just my guess, because
I forget how he actually dies, or if he actually dies in the books.
I don't think he does.
He marries somebody who was
Mara Jade.
force sensitive, and then either they had twins or Leia and Han had twins who were force sensitive.
That Leia and Han had Jason and Jaina, and then Luke married Mara Jade.
Okay. Yes.
But I think
you have a better idea than me, because I stopped reading the books years ago.
I never read any of them. I just know little bits of information. But I know that one of the main characters did die in the books, but that was Chewbacca.
Well, I knew that because there's a whole. I think it's part of the Han Solo trilogy. I think it's the last book in it. I think, and this is just from shelving them at work.
The reason I'm thinking that Luke is going to get killed in Star Wars Episode 7 is simple. Qui-Gon Jinn dies in Star Wars Episode 1. And he was the mentor to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi dies in Star Wars Episode 4. He was the mentor to Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is going to be mentor to someone else in Star Wars Episode 7. He is going to die.
Still think you should play the Joker as a Sith.
I think it would be hilarious.
Oh, Batman, you were good before, but I've got the Force. You imagine Batman is... What the fuck is this?
Now Batman would be like, well, Joker, I have the force of justice.
No, not the shitty Batman. I mean the good animated Batman.
I was impersonating Michael Keaton's Batman.
Oh. Well, anyway, the Batman from the animated series. You just see him, come home, drape the cape over its, chair and collapse at the console. And Alfred's like, problems, Master Bruce. Alfred, he's got the fucking force now. I'm sorry, sir. The Joker. He's got the Force.
That would be like, have you ever seen, you haven't seen Batman the Brave and the Bold, have you?
Probably not.
I think it's a good show. It's almost like a sequel to the 60s show. But, they did an episode called Emperor Joker, where the Emperor, I can't remember why, but the Joker gets the powers of a god. And so he spends the entire episode killing Batman in various ways until it becomes not fun anymore.
Lol.
And then Batman defeats him and takes his powers away.
Again, any artists who are out there who want to depict the Joker as a Sith Lord and then Batman coming home and saying, Alfred, he's got the fucking Force. Go for it. I'll retweet it if you tweet it at me. I know that you've got this, big old lady hate boner about JJ Abrams, but it might not be bad,
The term boner is a rather small sort of thing. It's more like the ship's mast of a man of war.
Or that.
It is large and pierces the sky, and if you fall off it, you will be dead.
So that's your big old raging lady man of war mast of hate.
For JJ Abrams.
That's unwieldy. Lady boner of hate is so much better. That's what we should call the episode.
I think that would be a good name. I really, really hate... Okay, before he completely raped Star Wars, before he completely sodomized, without consent, Star Trek.
Okay, that's right.
I was just like, oh, JJ Abrams, he did a bunch of shows that I don't give a shit about, and I ignore him. Then suddenly his version of Star Trek, I'm like, you motherfucker. Motherfucker!
But how is that different from every single fan ever ranting and raving when someone doesn't get their thing exactly? Like I told you, from the ages of 4 to 6, I wanted to be a Transformer. My first, and probably only straight crush, was Optimus Prime. I've never seen any of the live action.
Not sure if that would technically be straight.
Well, he's a boy robot.
Yeah, but actually, no, Transformers are asexual.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, he was voiced by a boy, and I didn't have the elaborate concept of gender to decide, to realize what a robot being asexual would actually mean. So... Besides, his voice actor was awesome, so...
Oh, his voice actor is awesome. But even if he is a boy robot, then it's a different species. So I don't know if it would be straight.
Was 5. Again, these weren't really complex things going on in my psychology at that time. But yeah,
Okay.
I've never seen any of the live-action Star Wars, or you're doing it to me. I've never seen any of the live-action Transformer movies. I was hyped up to see the first one, and then everyone said it was shit. So I didn't see it. I didn't see the second or the third one. And apparently, or are we on the third and we're waiting for the fourth?
We're waiting for the fourth.
I don't know. Lindsay's always tweeting about it, so.
I've seen, okay, I love Transformers as well. Although
but
I am
I didn't pitch a humongous fit and say my childhood's been raped, because I'm like, well, it was an adaptation that I don't find exactly faithful, but what are you going to do? It made a whole bunch of money, so.
Well, there's a slight difference with my issue with what JJ Abrams did to Star Trek. What he did was take the universe as was and reboot it into a different one and basically start remaking old Star Trek when they had like 30 years of history. It's like doing a Doctor Who thing where instead of, say if the next season they decide to reboot Doctor Who and they have Clara sent into an alternate reality where she meets up with the new First Doctor in an alternate reality and it's young again, I'm like, no, you've just thrown away years and years and years of backstory just so you could recreate the original. That's shit and stupid.
Yes, but that's an issue with rebooting more than an issue with JJ Abrams. Do you know definitively that it was his decision to reboot it, or did he just get attached to a project where they said, this is the script we're going with?
He wasn't a director for hire.
Yes, but unless you can conclusively prove to me that he was the one who said, we shall reboot this, we can remake it, we have the CGI technology, he could have been at the whim of a producer, or at the studio that said, we're rebooting it, this is how it's going to, And if he's like, hey, I'd like to get in on that project, but the decision was probably not his and his alone. If you're JJ Abrams, by the way, write the show. If you want to come on and talk about it, we'll totally give you space.
I actually get more angry than just any regular reboot, because what they've done is that they in the context universe, they changed history. So it basically means that every single piece of Star Trek that existed has been wiped away, except for Star Trek Enterprise and these movies.
In the early episode, Enterprise, I think it's like 6 or 7. Check my blip pages if you'd like to listen to it. We talked about this, and I said, just because the universe has been rebooted doesn't mean your classic doesn't mean your enjoyment of it is gone. It doesn't mean it stopped existing for you. It's just not what they're doing with it. So. Oh,
I know, it's still there. It's still,
the episodes
are still there, but I get really irritated when you have a long-term history with history and multiple incarnations with a basic continuity, and then they decide to wipe that all away. It's like they throw it away. I want shows to get bigger. It's a rare thing to have such a long history of a TV show.
I understand. Because comparatively speaking, television isn't really all that old anyway.
It irritates me greatly. And in their continuity, it's just those movies and fucking Enterprise, and it's like, no, you bastards. Although, the way I make myself sleep at night over this is...
Do you actually stay up nights about... Do you really, really? Because if you do, then you need to get on Skype, and I'll talk you to sleep about
I get
something.
insomnia. But
not about Star Wars, you lying liar, or Star Trek. Or
my way... Actually, one night when I had insomnia, I worked this out. That... the universe, as portrayed in the new Star Trek movies, cannot be a rewritten universe from the previous ones, because it was different since before the universes diverged.
It's the same basic concept with changes.
No, I'm saying it's an alternate reality, and it always has been.
Well, that's fine, and there's precedent for alternate reality in original Star Trek. So, less with the bitching, more with the rejoicing.
Hello, everyone.
We're back. 2 seconds ago.
Has Tony Goldmark rapped about asparagus yet?
No, we really need to. So people are going to start tweeting at him and be like, what about your asparagus rap? And he'll be like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, but on Lesbian Talk. Oh, now see, that's the problem.
I love asparagus. It tastes like pus.
That's horrible. That's bad. You should feel bad.
When I have to eat it, I feel I should cuss.
Stop it. You have to get Darren to make a rap about it. No, see, they could cross over.
Yeah, they could. That would be really
Tony's good. He's gonna be at some comedy music festival soon. So when I'll look that up So if you're watching the visual, I'll look that up and I'll put the link in the thing so you can go. If you're nearby, go see Mr. Goldmark. It's
Probably on the West Coast.
That's why I said if you're nearby to where he is.
Well, just to let people know.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably if you're near the West Coast somewhere, although it is a big coast, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it's a big country. You know why? Because we're awesome. America.
You hear Sean Weathers messaged me on Twitter, and he wants to put me on his podcast at some point.
Oh, he's that director, right?
Yeah, he's the New York-based exploitation film director. He sent me a bunch of his films, and I'm going to review one or two of them, and they're very interesting and very low budget. Although,
this is one the Animal Farm we made with prostitutes?
Yes. And he did this one, which is like he watched I Spit on Your Grave, and he decided it wasn't brutal enough. He thought it was nowhere near worthy of its reputation, so he made his own version. And I have to say, his one's more brutal than the original. But the main issue with it, and I think it's called They All Must Die, and if I didn't know that the guy himself who directed it and wrote it was black, I would have assumed this was done by a white supremacist.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. It's a very odd question. I had to send him messages asking him about what different parts of it meant, because I was definitely getting a KKK type vibe out of it. And then he told me, he's like, no, there's no reason for that sort of stuff. It's there so people can decide their own meaning. And I was like, okay, what does that say about me?
Wah, wah, wah. But you know what time it is?
Time for Giovanni?
Indeed. It's trivia time. And Giovanni, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here, boss. How's it hanging?
It's not, nothing's hanging, because I'm not a guy. Nothing dangles, you know.
Your hair dangles?
No, it doesn't. It's short.
It is very short. I'm looking at it right this second, so there you go.
It could totally dangle.
I guess so. But anyway, Giovanni, what trivia fact do you have for us today?
Oh, well, boss, since we've been talking about Star Wars, I think we'd go totally Star Wars for this. Now, did you know, according to his autobiography, Sir Alec Guinness met James Dean just after he bought the car he died in? It's true. Guinness told him the car was sinister, and if he drove it, he would be dead within a week. And he was.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've read about that. And not even Snopes has managed to debunk that.
It's, probably, what it probably was. It's one of those things you say offhand to somebody, yeah, you're totally going to die in that car, and then at the funeral, don't you feel like a dick?
Yeah, or it could be Sir Alec Guinness's idea of fun humor. Every single time he met someone, he's like, oh, my dear, that hat is sinister. You'll be dead within a week. Oh, my dear, you're going to be dead within a week. Oh, you're going to be dead within a week. And then suddenly someone happens and he's like, I'm a genius.
Why does Sir Alec Guinness sound like Alistair?
Because Sir Alec Guinness is English. And
that's the only English you can use.
And had sex with men. And Alistair is English and had sex with men.
Right. So thank you, Giovanni, and we'll see you next week.
Sure, no problem. It's just such a nice breath of fresh air when I'm not having to defend myself from internet bullies like Hagan. So, toodaloo.
And Sir Alec Guinness, although he didn't identify as gay, he did say that that homosexuality is one of those things that one grows out of when one becomes a man.
That's
I'm not
so
really
British.
It's probably grew out of the fact that he went to a private school and it was for boys only. So it was like,
and that
okay,
kind of stuff happens. What does that say about Harry Potter?
In the UK, in the upper class private schools, you've got a system. You got the fag system, which is basically an older boy.
It's actually called that? That's terrible.
Yes. The other boy is your fag. Basically, it's an older boy with a first year, and the younger boy they team up. I don't know who initiates it, but the older one basically has them be a slave, and there are stories and stories about horrible things that the younger ones will be forced to do.
Good Lord.
Honestly, it seems rather related to the pederasty of ancient Greece.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, are you sure this is not a Greek thing?
Well, no, I don't know, it might not still be happening, but it definitely happened until fairly recently, and it happened quite a lot. And there's a lot of sort of humor about British upper class people, about the weird perversions that upper class British people get up to, and it's sometimes about that as well. Like someone getting, I can't remember if it was what sitcom it was, but there was some talk about this guy who was rich, and when he was in school, he was made to be this crazy guy's fag, and so now he has a fetish for using his ass as a toast rack.
I'm rendered speechless. Which is unfortunate because it's time for the story from the store.
Oh dear.
Well, this is actually a double play today because I was working at the cash register. And if you don't know, if you're just listening to Lesbian Talk for the first time, I've worked for a large chain bookstore for coming up a decade on the 23rd, and I've seen pretty much all of it, and I've pretty much helped everyone, and this is one of those stories. So I was at register today, and it's a fairly nice day. It's been kind of warm. It's in the upper 40s, so for right now, it's wonderful weather. So we had a lot of customers today, and I had this one guy come in, and he dropped almost $100 on little, juvie workbooks and stuff like that, like math and reading and whatnot. And so I said to him, okay, that'll be so-and-so and so. And I said, now, do you have our discount card? Because we have a discount card. It's a fee-based membership. And he says, no, you could just use your employee discount. And I looked at him for a second, so I thought he was being funny, but then I realized he was being serious. I go, haha, sir, I can't do that. I would get fired. Because I could. And he said, oh, really? Well, why? And I said, we're not allowed to use our discount that way. And he's like, oh, okay, well, whatever, here's my credit card. And then I told some of my coworkers, they was like, seriously? He expected you to? I was like, I know, right? And the other thing that also happened today, I swear, the weirdos come out on Sundays, is a woman came up and said to me, I have this gift card I just found. Can you tell me how much it's worth? And that happens a lot. People find a gift card in a drawer and they don't know the original amount. And we can scan it and see how much of a balance is still on there. And, like sometimes, it'll be like $20. And like, oh, wow, this is great. Thanks, So I took a look at the card. I said, yeah, no, we can't. Because it was a Borders gift card. And I said, well, ma'am, first of all, this is another company. And second of all, this is a company that doesn't exist anymore. And she said, well, yeah, but you guys bought Borders, didn't you? And I said, no. I said, another company has taken a lot of their stores. We didn't, but they bought up the rents because it was a space already optimized for bookstores. But no, she said, well, I Googled Borders, and one of the Google results is your store. And I said, well, that's because we probably bought the Google redirect. And she goes, well, that's not very clear. And she goes, well, I guess I'm not spending any money here. And I want to say, oh, I guess you're not, because you can't, because you don't have any. Oh. But a company that went out of business, coming up on like 3 or 4 years ago, oh, if I Google their website, I get yours, so you should redeem their defunct gift card that I've probably had in my sock drawer for 5 years. Not so much.
Yeah.
Although that happens a lot. Like people come in and be like, yeah, I have, and it's not like it's a case of like if it's one of the Visa gift cards or American Express gift cards, obviously you can use them anywhere, but people come in and like, yeah, I have a coupon for like Costco or BJ's, so can I use that here on a book? And I'm like, no. Why do you even think that's no? Well, why don't you honor your competitor? Because we don't. That's not how that works.
Silly people are silly. But you know who's not silly?
Who's not silly?
James Bond.
Da-da-da-da.
Da-da-da. Yeah, today we're talking about franchises, and we're going to tangent off into, like, talking about bears or something.
And Doctor Who. Because we can't not. And Dragon Age, obviously.
Yeah, well, I can't think of a James Bond Dragon Age connection, but I can think of a Doctor Who connection, because Timothy Dalton played Rassilon.
Oh, yeah, that's true. See, but now, you have the advantage here, because I've seen 2 of them with Daniel Craig, and I've seen a few of the ones with Pierce Brosnan, but other than that, I really don't know much about James Bond.
This just means that once you're living with my brother, that I'm going to suggest to him that he starts a marathon of the James Bond films, because every so often he does this. They watch, like, I'm going to watch all the Star Trek films. They don't watch them back to back, but like one week, watch a film, then the next, and the next, and the next. And I'm going to suggest that he should do that, just so you can watch all the Bonds.
I don't like James Bond, the character. He's kind of a douche.
Only kind of?
He's like, totally. And like, all he does is like have sex with like women, like all the time.
Yeah, he's
like, I have nothing to say to that.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Can't really defend him there.
He's, as written in the books, and as played by Craig and Timothy Dalton, he is basically a barely restrained, violent psychopath.
Yeah, that's why I don't like Daniel Craig as James Bond, because at least, like, Pierce Brosnan was, like, kind of like, I'm Pierce Brosnan, I'm good looking, I'm kind of witty, I'm just saying. You might remember me from Remington Steele, I'm just saying. Actually, none of our audience remembers him from Remington Steele because all of our audience are kids. Oh.
I remember Remington Steele. My mum was a big fan.
So is my mom. I think she still has a crush on him.
You know, Liam Neeson announced today that, well, he mentioned in an interview that he turned down the role of James Bond for Goldeneye.
Huh, really? The N64 would have been so different. I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm. The Bond films, the casting's been quite interesting because the first one obviously was Sean Connery, but I can't remember who was off. I think Roger Moore might have been offered it before Sean Connery, but this starts a pattern because Timothy Dalton is offered the role of James Bond before Roger Moore, and then Pierce Brosnan is offered it before Timothy Dalton is whenever he gets it, and then it's whoever gets the role of Bond until Daniel Craig, they were offered it an earlier time and they turned it down every single time. It's really weird. Like first time that Timothy Dalton was offered it was actually, I think, for Diamonds Are Forever, which was a Sean Connery one, because he turned it down because he was 22 at the time.
And he thought that Bond should be older.
Yeah. And then for Living Daylights, which was Timothy Dalton's first one, Pierce Brosnan was offered it, but he had to turn it down because Remington Steele basically said that they wouldn't let him out of his contract.
If you don't know what we're talking about, Google Remington Steele. It was a really fun show. Took place in the 80s, and it's just 80s-tacular, and it's awesome, and you'll love it.
And Ephraim J. Zimbalist turns up every so often. He did the voice of Alfred in Batman the Animated Series.
What is this madness?
Yeah, he was the father. In the context of Remington Steele, he's the father of Pierce Brosnan's character, but he is in real life the father of the leading lady. And
there was a lot of tension between the two of them because the show was supposed to be all about her. That she was, this woman starting women detective agency, but she needed a guy frontman, or no one would take her seriously. But she was actually the brains and the soul behind it. But then test audiences really, really, really liked Pierce Brosnan, so she kind of became a second fiddle to him, and the chemistry broke down, and eventually they ended the show.
I'd have to say that's really apt for the basis of the show.
Yeah, it's about because the world is so sexist, I can't be a detective without a guy, but then no one cares about me anyway, because the world is sexist. Oh.
It's very, very, very
Although
apt.
I really don't think that was the way. I think it was just because he was a better actor. I think with a more powerful actress in that role, it might have been different. So I wouldn't really necessarily say it's a sexist thing, because she just wasn't that strong of an actress.
I haven't seen it in about 15 years, but I recall liking it. But my mum was a big fan.
Yeah, I mean she was a good character, and she was solid, but she was too every woman. She was too Mary Jo Shively from Designing Women. She was too much of an every woman, and I think if someone had been, I don't want to say exotic, but able to carry off something like that a bit better. I think that would have been better chemistry with Pierce Brosnan. That's just my 7 cents.
You could well be right, but for the Bond films, who is your favorite Bond?
Pierce Brosnan.
I'm going for Timothy Dalton.
I don't think I've ever seen any of Timothy Dalton movies.
Timothy Dalton's ones are basically like Daniel Craig's ones, but 20 years early. They were the first ones to get.
Daniel Craig looks like Aryan poster boy Bond. I think James Bond should have dark hair.
Well, Timothy Dalton doesn't look like Daniel Craig. His films, though, are similarly brutal. In fact, License to Kill, Timothy Dalton's second one, it was the only Bond film to receive an R rating.
Oh, snap.
That's the one where future Oscar winner Benicio del Toro is shredded feet first in a cocaine shredder.
Damn, son.
In the same film, Academy Award nominee, I believe, Anthony Zerbe, is put into a decompression chamber. They put the pressure right up, and then they cut the line to explode him.
And Grammy-nominated Hootie and the Blowfish are all shot by firing squad.
But License to Kill it's Bond. The Bond film's attempt at doing something very, very then. This was 1989. It was the era of very bloody, big budget films. And so Bond did that, and it was all about cocaine and drug dealing in a banana republic, and James Bond went rogue because that was the thing. But Timothy Dalton's character, Bond, he's a barely restrained psychopath. Like, at the very start of that one, Felix Leiter, Timothy Dalton attends Felix's wedding because Felix is he's semi-retired, not quite retired, but then they arrest this sort of drug lord, and then of course just before the wedding in their suits, and then one of Felix's men takes a couple of $1 million to break the guy out, but then they get Felix after the wedding, and they throw him into a shark tank, and he loses like both his legs and an arm.
Jeez.
And they rape his wife and shoot her in the head, and then they leave Felix Leiter's semi-eaten body like in his bedroom with a note saying he disagreed with something that ate him. It's License to Kill is the most brutal of the Bond films, and I love it. I know a lot of people don't.
I haven't seen Skyfall, but I do own the theme song.
Skyfall is the first of the Daniel Craig ones that I have liked. I have a similar issue with the Daniel Craig ones as I do with the JJ Abrams reboot. Although I do love the fan theory that suggests that Daniel Craig could be the same Bond as the other ones, and it's a lovely theory.
What is this theory?
Basically, that Die Another Day didn't happen, that Pierce Brosnan was captured at the very start of that, and then he was tortured for months and months and years, and he was mentally broken, and Die Another Day from the credits onwards is basically him in a drug-fueled sort of in his mind, and then finally they throw him out there, and then he has to get retrained to be a 00 agent, and he's Daniel Craig. And that's why it's the same man.
And his eyes are a different color.
Well, yes, Bond recasting happens, but that's why there's the same M.
I guess. I like What's Her Face.
Judi Dench?
I like her. I like her in everything that she's in.
Yeah. I'm fine with Judi Dench. It's just, if they were going for a clean reboot of James Bond, why the hell did they keep her as M? Because all it did was muddy the waters, and they let things like this theory happen. And
because she was like, I'm Judi Dench, bitches, and they were like, well, you can't argue with that.
Yes, it will muddy the waters, and people will have no idea whether this is the same character or not, but that doesn't matter.
She's like, I know, I'm Judi Dench, bitch, and they were like, or should we call the episode that? Oh.
But the,
I've stymied you.
I really wish that someone in one of the Daniel Craig films would put some sort of reference to Daniel Craig's Bond having a wife that was dead. That would kind of cement it that he was the same character as the other ones, and it is the same universe, but they're sort of pretending it's not.
Are they going to make another one? I'm assuming they're going to make another one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like Skyfall did well, but Skyfall was the first one I saw out of those ones that felt like a James Bond film. Die Another Day and not Die Another Day, the two ones before that, Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. They didn't really feel like Bond films. They felt like half Bond films in the same sort of way. It felt
like because I had a roommate who made me watch. Well, not made me. I was in the same room when he had them on. Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale. And you know what it felt like? It felt like the Jason Bourne movies, because he was also a fan of those, and made me watch them.
Yeah, they were basically recreating Jason Bourne. But it felt like half a Bond film, and it wasn't quite there. It had parts of the Bond film.
Is Christopher Lee ever going to be in one? Because didn't he, know the guy personally? The Ian Fleming, I mean?
He was the cousin of Ian Fleming, and he was in a Bond film.
Oh, which one?
He was in The Man with the Golden Gun.
Did he have a golden gun?
Yes.
Awesome.
In the GoldenEye video game, he had the golden gun that killed you with one shot.
Oh, honey, we never played the story campaign. We just sat around for hours after high school killing each other and accusing each other of screen camping.
No, it wasn't the story element. It was one of the multiplayer things. This was a gun you could pick up, and you could kill someone with one shot. And because Scaramanga, Christopher Lee's character, had a golden gun, and he was such a good shot, he only needed one shot to kill you.
That's pretty badass.
And he had a third nipple, and he lived in Thailand. And Christopher Lee was the guy that Ian Fleming wanted to play Dr. No, when they were making Dr. No.
But he's like, I'm too busy being awesome, and then he flew away on a rainbow.
Yeah, and then the producers were really weird in Dr. No, because they were like, okay, we don't want Christopher Lee. Okay, what are we going to have instead? I got it. Let's have a shaved monkey. And then they were like, eventually they decided that was a bad idea. And then they decided to cast Joseph Wiseman. I don't know if he should be insulted or not.
A shaved monkey?
Yes, for a time they were considering making Dr. No a shaved monkey. I'm not sure if they were going to dub him or if they were
who
going
shaved
to.
the monkey?
They were going to shave a monkey and say that was Dr. No. I don't know if the monkey was going to be super intelligent or if it was going to be like a human who was mutated. I don't know. It was just one of these random.
Like some kind of animal rights violations?
It was the 60s, and I doubt it's really an animal rights violation because it'll grow back, and it's not painful.
Yeah, but PETA would pitch a fit if that were now.
It probably would, but PETA pitches a fit about a lot of things.
That's true. They wanted everyone to call tuna sea kittens for a while, so...
Yeah, but I don't know why they wanted a shaved monkey to play Dr. No, but they did at one point. It's fucking ridiculous. It's almost as ridiculous as James Bond Jr.
I have a vague recollection of that.
I saw it. It was... You have all the icons of James Bond redesigned for the 90s, so odd jobs like Flava Flav and all.
Although, I have to confess, I did kind of like the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles back in the day.
See, I like that. That was the same creative team.
I thought they were kind of cool.
Colin Baker was in an episode of that.
Really? I didn't know that. Which one?
I can't remember what episode, but it was in like World War I. He was a general or something.
Nice.
But I like the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles because that was done by the creators of the character. It was like George Lucas. People give him shit about a lot of things, and rightly so. But in Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, he created a massive timeline of Indiana Jones's entire life for like 6 seasons of Young Indiana Jones. Now they only did like 2, but he chronicled everything, so he knew what to reference. Like in Crystal Skull and everything, he does occasionally reference things that happened in the other things. I think.
I haven't seen Crystal Skull, but I used to watch it when I was little, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Lucas worked out his continuity way in advance. It was quite cool.
It's a good thing he wasn't in charge of scripting then.
Yeah, but the Bond films, the first 2 Bond films, Dr. No and From Russia with Love, also don't feel like proper Bond films. They feel like half ones because. The first one has a couple of very low budget gadgets, but it's got no it's missing like the iconic music when Bond like walks out at the start and shoots the thing, and then From Russia with Love has some other elements that are half there, but then Goldfinger, the third one, has all of the elements of an actual Bond film. So I always like to say Goldfinger's the actual first proper Bond film. It's got the gadgets, it's got all the musical stings, it's got the ridiculous plot. It's not 100% grounded in reality. Goldfinger's the real start.
Next reboot will be James Bond trying to save the world from Pinky and the Brain.
Now that'll be the last one before the reboot. The Bond films traditionally start off realistic and then get more ridiculous, and then they go realistic. Like it was Dr. No till You Only Live Twice, which was when they were in space and there were the spaceships stealing other spaceships, and then it cut directly to Majesty's Secret Service, which was quite realistic, even though George Lazenby's crap, and then it moved up to...
George Lazenby!
I say this building is unsafe. And that went up to... Christ, I forget what it is. But then the next sort of semi-reboot happened with Roger Moore, and then it went up to Living Daylights, and then the most egregious version was Die Another Fucking Day.
Well, I guess I know how you feel about that, then.
Well, I gotta say, I'm gonna be nice about Die Another Day and say that director Lee Tamahori, at one point in his career, was arrested for dressing up in drag, wandering around, and then offering guys blowjobs for about $50 while high. And that's not the most embarrassing thing he did, because he did direct Die Another Day.
Oh. And on that note, it's time for the dictionary. Directorial blowjobs aside.
I have no knowledge.
Well, I have the Oxford American Dictionary here. What page should I turn to?
234.
All right. Cool. At least we're going to get out of the ABCs for a while and into the other ones. All right. 1 or 2?
2.
Out of 14.
12.
All right. Farmland. Land capable of being cultivated. Well, yeehaw, y'all.
Gotta play Farmville.
Farmville. I don't even want to talk about Farmville.
Although the next episode we do...
Green Acres is the place for me.
Next episode will either be recorded the same sort of way here, or if my Skype connection is better, Or if for some reason we don't manage to get all that done, the next week it might be recorded here. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, what we might do is I might make another best of, because in about 9 or 10 days now, I'm actually going over to Northern Ireland for about a week. So we might put up another best of with bits that, if you're new to Lesbian Talk, you haven't heard, but you probably should. Or we might work something out. We'll see.
And, whenever you get back from London, either before you leave here or after you leave, we will have an episode dedicated to talking about adventures in London.
Yeah. Oh, and this was our 50th episode. Yay.
I think it was a worthy thing to talk about.
Very worthy indeed. So I have been the Omega, and who do you want to have been this week?
Mike J.
Alright, that works. Oh, speaking of Mike J, didn't he make a movie recently, honey?
Yes, he did. He made NerdQuest, which you can get on nerdquestmovie.com, and
Wow.
I think it's well worth a watch. I have seen it, and I do have a small cameo, and it's well worth buying.
I shall go to nerdquestmovie.com. Wait a minute. Oh, yes, that's right. It's nerdquestmovie.com, and totally get one. I don't know what that funny symbol next to the numbers means. I'm just going to assume that means dollars in European.
But I'll tell you, I'm going to show NerdQuest to Omega, and hopefully in a future episode we're going to talk about the film.
Apparently, all it does is make fun of Film Brain.
Nah, it's about LARPing. It makes fun of LARPing.
And Film Brain.
No. Film Brain makes fun of Film Brain.
Oh, okay. So, we'll see y'all next week.
Bye-bye.